Hello Flosstube, it's Lori of Mischievous Stitches. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Here in South Carolina today, it is very gloomy and rainy, but it's the perfect day for a big pot of soup on the stove and to curl up with your favorite book or your crocheting or your stitching. I love these kind of days. I hate to work in these kind of days, but I love to be home in my comfortable space, which is home, on a day like this. So last weekend, I shared with you my progress on Southern Land by Owl Forest Embroidery, and I'm happy to report that I have finished now completely pages 1 through 6, meaning I have 3 partial pages remaining. Here's the piece here. It is a PDF download. I will link it in the description box below. It has a very simple color palette. There's a total of 4 colors in this entire piece. Owl Forest Embroidery does offer their own threads, their own overdyed threads. I'm using the call for DMC that is suggested here in the pattern. I did buy 3 colors or 3 skeins of each of the suggested colors when I purchased the supplies for this piece. And I am going to run out of the dark blue color that you can see. So the page where I'm at is here. See this light blue center motif? I have stitched up to about here and above. So here and above. So I have all this down here to go. But there's still a good bit of that dark blue, and I think it's 930. So if you're stitching this or planning to stitch this, you may want to grab another, at least 1 more skein, which would be 4 skeins of the DMC for that dark blue. And as I said, I got 3 of each of the others. I'm not having any problems with those, but I know the dark blue, you're going to need another skein, possibly, of that. So I'm going to share with you my photo. I had the iron out today, so I gave it a quick iron. So this piece is a little more presentable than normal. But here I am. I am on track, definitely, for February finish. So I'm excited about that. And you can see I don't have a straight line across. I did move down into the next page with some of the motifs, so I would have a breaking point that I would not have to refer back to the previous page to pick up on. So I'm a little tiny bit over the edge into the last set of pages in that line. So when you saw me last week, I was working on the center motif, this piece, and down. So I got all those border edges, and I really love this piece here in the center. It's those reds and those light blues. I don't know what type of flower that is, or if it even is a flower, just a motif. Kind of looks like lilies on their side, nested into one another. I really like that one. And so there are some big squares in each of the bottom corners that are stitched primarily with the bright red and then the dark blue. And I'm looking forward to getting into those, but I have noticed just with taking a look at the what I have remaining to stitch last night, that there's a good bit of stitching. It's still not solid stitching, but it is not as open as some of the other motifs, so it's not going to be as easy to finish. Now, these 2, I'll just call them a garden. These 2 gardens on the side with the flowers, each side is a little different than the other. They go a little bit further. They go down to the square that I'm referring to, the dark red square. But I'm going to commit to finishing at least one of those corners for this week. And I am hoping to finish that up by Valentine's Day. I've had a lot of interest with those that want to stitch the Sampler Company piece with me, and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm thinking we'll start on Valentine's Day. So I'm hoping to have this one finished. That gives me 2 weeks to finish Southern Land, and then I can pick up that piece. And I referred to that, I didn't bring it down here with me, but I did refer to it in my last video. It's a whip of mine, and I would like to get working on it and get that knocked out. So so far, with Southern Land, once it's completed, I will have 3 whips knocked out from last year. In my last video, I also showed you the colors for my daughter Jordan's, I'm going to show them again, for the yarn for her blanket, her Afghan that I'm making her. And here they are. And they're a mess. But this is the primary color that I use to choose the others. And this is called Autumn, what is it? Autumn Stripe. And I loved these colors, and I got a lot of comments on the last video about it and that it reminded them of 70s colors. It did me too. That's why I bought this. It reminds me of my childhood. I recently watched the movie E.T. again, and there's a crochet Afghan. It's a granny square, I believe, on the back of the couch in Elliot's home, and it's similar colors to these, and it was just my childhood. I can remember going to the movies to see E.T. when it came out. So, but there's this. The only thing with this, I love the colors, but the green I chose is a more pastel green. And so it's not the olive, which olive green is my favorite color, but they didn't have an olive green shade. And I did go back and look yesterday. No, but I went with this one. And I bring that to your attention because here's where I am on it. Now, the first colors, I started with the orange and the beige and then the green. Looks great, but when I introduced the autumn stripe color, you can see that the olive green of that thread really, really stands out to me. And I don't want to throw in the towel. I'm not unhappy with it. It's just not, I'm not as in love with it as I was hoping. And so this is a better look. So I've got, this is the Larksfoot. I'm going to fold it up a little more. It'd be easier for me to hold. This is the Larksfoot stitch. I stitched the last Afghan that I showed with it. And it takes 2 rows to complete the Larksfoot stitch. So you can see here how this one is dropping down and pulling the hole from the row before. These 2 rows right here makes 1 Larksfoot stitch. I'm saying it, constantly saying that wrong. Larksfoot stitch. So this time, instead of doing 1 row, or the 2 rows that complete that 1 stitch, I am doing 2 total rows of the Larksfoot, which is 4 rows. Does that make sense? 2 rows repeat to do the Larksfoot stitch. So hers is going to be a lot more stripy than the other one. And so I have completed the 2 rows of the stripe, autumn stripe color. And I have introduced this rusty red, which I really, really like that one. And then I have 1 more color to introduce. And that's going to be this chocolate brown. I'll be using that. And I'm using the I Love This yarn. So once I introduce the brown, then I will have the complete rotation done, and I'll just keep repeating it till I get the length that I want. So there's that. And I've enjoyed that this week. Now, today I have a full finish to share with you. It felt so good to finish this up. It is the complimentary pattern that I received from making an order with Sue Hillis to do the Stitcher Sampler last year. And I asked for those of you that were aware of a good Drawstring Pouch video here on YouTube to comment below, and so many of you did, and you gave me great leads. I found one by Lori Nuneker, and I will link that video below on how to finish it. It was very simple. She kept the finishing of it simple, and with this being my first one, it's just what I needed to understand the basics. Also, a lot of you mentioned that in the Sewing Club Blackbird design book, there are finishing instructions for Drawstring Pouch. I am a visual learner. I can read about it, but until I see it, a lot of times the puzzle pieces just do not fit together in my mind. So YouTube and Pinterest has done wonders for me with my finishing and crafting, because I'm able to see, if not through a video, but through pictures of how people finish things. So the video that I found, like I said, was by Lori Nuneker, and I will link the video below in case any of you wanted to give it a try. Now, of course, her video was not using a finished cross stitch piece to complete the pouch. I did modify her instructions. I made the piece an inch wide square, more than what she had. I chose my own colors. And I'm just going to share it with you. I don't have anything in it yet. I think it'll look much better with maybe some stuffing or something in it so you can get a grasp of how it looks. But here it is. You ready? You sure? Here it is. Here's my Drawstring Pouch. So I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday and I picked up this gingham fabric here. I love it. It's not quite white and red. It's more like a buttery yellow and creamy yellow and red. And then I bought a creamy fabric and I placed my stitch piece here. Now it is not fully finished because I do plan on adding one of my 2020 charms to this because I finished the piece in 2020. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to add it, but more than likely it'll be around here somewhere. But this is it. So I have 3 colors. I did, when I finished it up, rolled it up before I top stitched the top of the bag. I rolled it up so you could see the inner fabric, and I used the green, which is the same green, like a hunter green, around the outside and for the letters of the piece. I also made a change, and you can see you've got the green there. I didn't want that green to show through the back of the piece. So what I did was made a panel with the buttery beige that, I'll get it right in a minute, the creamy, the creamy white. I made a panel with that creamy white on the bottom for the inner so that when the inner fabric was behind this, that dark green wouldn't shine through. So that's another change that I made from hers. I don't have any pockets. It looks like a pocket, but it's not. So it's fully finished inside and out. And I added some leftover bits of the fabric. I made ends for the string, the drawstring. The drawstring is some string that I picked up for another craft a couple of years ago, and they were fabric color. I would cover this rope with fabric and make a bowl out of it. And I have a couple of those with my sewing supplies in them. So I had just enough left over to do the drawstring, and so here you go. So I love that I can see the green. I think it adds to it on the top because it brings out the green in the piece. And I am so very happy with it. I thank all of you who commented with the suggestions down below. I loved how it turned out. I think I did a good job for this to be my first one. I can see me doing this again, but it has me, I'm now desiring to finish some of my other things. So I've shown this one a couple of videos ago, and I wanted to finish it this past weekend and I didn't. So I think I'm going to maybe finish, I'm going to commit to finishing 2 of my pieces each month. And when I mean pieces, not my current pieces, I mean past finishes. So this is another one from last year, and it was a Sampler's Remembered piece. And it comes with a child-sized porcelain cup. I know I've shown it before, but I'm gonna show it again. And the ribbon to finish it up. And I've got the Pellon ironed on the back. I've got some chipboard over there that I have drawn out the circle on it so that I can get ready to start finishing this up. So next weekend, I plan to have a finish to share with you all again. Also, when I went to Hobby Lobby to get the fabric for my drawstring pouch, I took Cooper along. And if you remember, I had purchased this frame, and I want to finish him in the frame. But I'm going to lay him on a piece of fabric. I got the idea from the picture on Cooper's pattern. So that is how he is finished. He is finished on a piece of fabric inside the frame with a piece of ribbon at the bottom. I picked this out, which is, this is a piece of wool. I really love the color saturation on the wool, but of course, as you can see, the wool isn't large enough. So I found a comparable color and fabric yesterday. I'm trying to get all these strings for me sewing today on the table off of it, but this, and so Cooper will be fully finished on that fabric. And if you look close, you'll see that the fabric really is very similar to the colors in the alphabet or the lettering behind Cooper. So there's that. And I bought some ribbon, and I think it's 1.5 inches, so it's a little larger than I might need, but I like the look of this brown, once again, up against Cooper. Because I think he was stitched with like a 30-21 in there in the branch. And this kind of reminds me of tree bark. So we'll see how I do that. But I have the supplies and everything I need to finish those 2 items. And those will be, I will finish them for the next month. That's my plan. That's what I'm going to commit to, those 2 finishes. So there's that. So this coming week, as I said, I plan to finish at least 1 corner on Sutherland. It would be wonderful to finish it this week, but I always seem to think I'm a faster stitcher than I actually am. So I thought I was going to finish it in January, and I didn't. And there were maybe 5 days I didn't stitch at all, or I crocheted, or maybe a little more. And I always think, well, if I had just taken the time to put in a couple of stitches that day, I could have finished it up. Didn't happen. Don't cry over spilt milk. I'm going to move forward. My plan is to finish him by the 14th of February. I am pretty sure, even allowing myself a couple of days of not stitching, that I can get him completed. I'm going to commit to finishing those pieces, those 2 pieces I just shared with you, in February, as well stitching it along on the sampler company piece with some of my friends. I'm looking forward to that too, because that's another whip I'd like to knock out in 2021. And it just really feels good. It is a good feeling not only to A, knock out whips, but B, fully finish an object. As soon as I finished, I actually yelped out, yes! Because it just really felt good. So I'm going to share it with you one more time before I let you go. Here he is. She, he, it. I hope everyone has a wonderful coming week full of stitches and laughter, love, and happiness. Until next time, bye-bye.